I'm going to talk about light modifiers. Again, I'm going to mention them right now. When we're outdoors, we'll actually use them. Lighting receptions, we'll go into that a little bit. And then the marketing side, which is really my favorite, and pricing. I'm going to also add just a few things that Chad had talked about in pricing. There's a few things that I like to do. There's a great book. If I don't mention it later, I'll just mention it now. There's a great book called Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely. He was a guy that he actually was in a very bad accident, got burned the majority of his body, and spent a lot of time in the hospital. And while he was there, he decided to turn it into a positive and observe people and observe why people do things the way they do. And he ended up writing a book about that and behaviorism, basically. And then he started studying consumer behaviorism and why we buy the things we buy and how we purchase. And I've applied a lot of his principles to my business, and I felt like it's been really, really helpful. So the book is a great read. It can be a little bit long and tedious and a lot of information that he throws at you. So I'll just kind of break it down and give you the tidbits that I really like, and then you guys can go from there. All right? So let's jump right into this. As far as composition, guys, what's the biggest composition rule that most of us follow all the time? Rule of thirds, right? Why do we follow rule of thirds? Why do we follow it? What is it? I mean, what is it about the rule of thirds? Was it just somebody, Lord Kelvin, who did the white temperature thing, or the white balance thing? Did he just say, hey, rule of thirds, guys, follow this? Because it works. Why does it work?
Your eye just likes it.
Yeah. Subconsciously, we are pleased by that, right? We don't like stuff dead center in the middle. Like, Keith, you're driving me crazy right now. Right in the middle. But Stephanie, I love you right there. You look fantastic.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's good. No, but subconsciously, we like things off to the side a little bit. We like things up in the top a little bit. Every time I hand my camera to my wife, she takes a picture, like, perfectly with my head right in the center, right? But not just in the center and up a little bit, but like my head and then all this space above me, right? And that's how people do the snapshots, right? They put your eyes like right dead center in the frame. I'm like, babe, rule of thirds. Come here, let me show you. It's really easy. Just divide threes. And she's like, whatever. I don't care. I don't want to take a picture. She doesn't like photography. I mean, she doesn't like taking pictures, I guess.
What?
That's
Somebody
true.
doesn't like it.
No, that's right. So, rule of thirds is so important, and I know you guys are always doing it. The other one that I just want to mention, and this is really, there's my rule of thirds shot, my little boy. Rule of thirds, right? Is there anyone that, again, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. Is there anyone that rule of thirds is like something new to them? No? Okay. So, no? Okay. I mean, it's just divide it in thirds, and you basically got 4 intersecting dots, and those are the places where you're going to try to put your subject matter, right? This is the one I want to point out as well. What is it in composition? What's the rule right here? What are we doing that's making this photo work?
Framing them.
Okay, framing them. What do you see behind their head? Nothing. Clean space.
Clean space.
Clean space, right? Keep that in mind, guys, especially when we're shooting like in city or a beach and things like that. And if you have like a pole or tree, I will always try to crouch down a little bit and try to find that clean space for their heads.
Did you say crouch down?
Crouch down, yeah.
I thought that's what you said.
Probably.
That's why he rips his pants.
It's a story of his pants.
Probably.
It's called Crouch Down.
Yeah. Crouch down. But yeah, look for that clean space. The Zach Arias is big on this. You send a photo to Zach Arias with dirty space behind people's head, and he'll like slaughter you for it. I mean, it's a big thing for him, and I have found that as I studied and really focused on getting that clean space behind my clients, I started doing it without even thinking about it. Like I would like just crouch myself just a little bit and put it just perfectly so that they're framed by light. In fact, there's a shot. In fact, can I show you guys this real quick? There's a shot I just posted on my Facebook page that I love the clean space behind them right here. You guys able to see that?
Yeah.
Do you see the clean space there though? You see how there's lots of busyness going on, but they're right down here. They're right where these two buildings come together, and there's that white. That was me just kind of moving just right. Oh, perfect. I actually told a couple, move over just a tiny bit. Boom, right there. Those are the types of things we want to look for.
Do they understand that?
No. Right there. And then I go.
We're gonna make a video of all the
Yeah.
just those things.
So keep those things in mind, guys. Clean space is one of the biggest things, and leading lines. Leading lines is extremely important too. In fact, you know what? Since we're on the Facebook page, what's that?
That picture has it for buildings.
It does, doesn't it? It absolutely has those leading lines. Here's another example of one that I just posted that I love that has the leading lines as well. Right here, I like this one. You see the lines on the stairs? It's maybe a little bit hard, but you see here, here, here. We got all here. See those lines that come in? That kind of stuff, I just love that kind of stuff. And you get to the point where when you remember, oh yeah, leading lines, clean space, rule of thirds, and you do it often, it starts to just come naturally. That's why we love train tracks so much, right? And don't shoot on them, by the way. Be careful. Shoot on dead train tracks. But that's why we love it, because we have those leading lines. So streets can do that as well. All right. Let's jump into recognizing light patterns. Now, guys, in the recognizing light patterns, what I want you guys to do is we're going to talk about them. And then inside your boxes, there's magazines, 2 magazines. And I want you guys to look through them, and we're going to actually see if you guys can find some of these light patterns in your magazine. So yeah, if you get a chance, pull those out. So what's one of the most popular light patterns that photographers are looking for? And when I say light patterns, it really, if anyone's gone to school, like at Brooks or has studied commercial, yeah? Brooks, yeah, or you shot a lot of studio light, then you really, that was probably a big thing. Or if you have one, either way. Light patterns is a big thing. A lot of times, those of us who just kind of went right into natural light, you know, shooting weddings or whatever, families, we tend to put the sun behind our people, and we basically just do kind of one light pattern, which is that rim light, right? But let's talk about some of the other light patterns. So rim light is the light behind us. What else do we got? What's that? Renaissance?
Not Renaissance. That's Rembrandt.
Oh,
Whatever.
I was like, that's a new one, but you want to explain it to me?
Rembrandt.
Rembrandt. So what's Rembrandt light? Upside down triangle, right? Right here. In fact, this photo right here has Rembrandt light. You see that triangle right here underneath her eye? Okay. How do we get Rembrandt light? Where do we position the light? Keith, can you grab one of those soft boxes? Stacy, can we borrow one of those soft boxes right there? Keith will grab it.
Is it above and to the side?
A little bit. Almost. But it's to the side, yeah.
I don't think he needs light in it. He just wants
Yeah, I don't need a light in it.
just for shape.
Yeah, I'm just going to show. Because, guys, the coolest thing is once you know where to put the light to get these patterns, then you'll start. I'm going to have you hold it, actually. You'll actually start incorporating a lot into your photos. Now, you don't need this to create this. Where was this photo
Or
taken?
is it just because of the window?
This is a window, right? So if I were shooting this photo of a bride in a window, all I would do, hold on one sec, Keith. All I would do is I would tell the bride to stand about right here, okay? Right? Not with this. Gotta get into it. Stand about right here, and what's gonna happen? This light is gonna come through the window, it's gonna hit the side, and then it's gonna wrap right around here and cause this nice little pattern with my nose, my cheek, right? Because this edge of the cheek's gonna come out a little bit more. So when I'm doing that, that's what's creating this Rembrandt pattern. I'm having her stand. Now what happens if I have her stand right here? What did I just do to the light? It literally comes up, it hits me on the side, but it's not gonna wrap around. Hardly at all, right? So that's why I need her to stand like right here, just like that photograph. I do this all the time with brides, all the time. So, same kind of things. Keith, bring that over. If I'm shooting Rembrandt light, basically my light source, which is gonna be Keith here holding this, is gonna be straight across, and I'm gonna stand right about here, okay? This would be, you can do this with a softbox, and it makes beautiful, beautiful light. Softbox right here, I have my client stand right with their shoulder close to it, and then basically what happens is this light hits here, it bounces off the back of the softbox, comes wrapping around and gets over here as well, but it's real soft, and then this you get this nice beautiful shadow, or excuse me, light on the cheek. Okay? So that's Rembrandt. What are some other light patterns? What's that? Butterfly. What's butterfly light? Yeah. Like, kind of like this. Butterfly light is basically a light that goes right underneath the nose. Okay? They also call it Paramount. Yeah. You said you went to Brooks? Awesome. I went to YouTube.com. No, but guys, this is something that once I figured out light patterns. Wait, Keith. You're gonna help me out. So, once I figured out light patterns, it like changed for me, how I see light and how I shoot photos. It really, really did. Because before I was just like, oh, that's pretty, let's do it right over there. And now I'm like, oh, I want to create this kind of light. So basically, butterfly is going to be, am I doing it right there? Sort of? Kind of? Almost right there? Right
Yeah, right
there?
there.
It's probably going to be hard to see because we have so much light coming in here as well. But it's basically right overhead, coming straight down. And it's going to create a shadow right underneath my nose. Now, some of us might go, oh, that's kind of disgusting. Butterfly light, that's weird. But if you actually create a beautiful butterfly pattern outside with somebody under the sun, with that sun right above, it looks really, really pretty. And that's where I was saying that we can't be afraid of shooting at noon. You can actually create some really gorgeous light. When you guys go through your magazine, I want you guys to look for somebody that has butterfly pattern light. Or like I said, it's butterfly or paramount is the other word. What's another one? Loop. Look at it. Are my notes, does it say it on there?
It says it all on the notes.
It does it?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. I wasn't sure if I did or not. But that's awesome. So what's loop? What's loop? Loop is probably one of the most popular lights you're going to see in magazines. Go ahead and bring it over here again. Loop light is basically, in fact, you know what? Can you turn around? I'm going to do this on you. So I can see what I'm doing. And guys, again, this is going to be a little bit harder only because we don't have, it's not dark in here, but we can practice this in the evening and you guys can play with it. Loop light is basically, do you see the shadow? Turn this way for just a minute and then I'll follow you. You know what? I'm going to draw on your face. Do you see this shadow right here? Go ahead and turn that way a little bit. You see the shadow coming off his nose? It's this kind of shadow that comes off the nose this way. The biggest thing you got to be careful with loop light is a lot of times you'll start to turn the light just a little bit and it'll cross into the mouth. Not a good thing. You want to keep you're going to have the shadow coming right off, sorry, flipping you guys off. Shadow coming right off the nose and it's going to go right over to the side. So if you were to draw it out, it's literally just coming this way. Now guys, here's the thing. I want you guys, like I said, we're going to look through the magazine. I want you guys to look through there and then I want you guys to literally, next time you go, I know you guys, we're just talking about makeup, you're not makeup purchasers, but go to the makeup counter. Go look at Maybelline and all those little, cool advertisements or whatever they have hung up there, the pictures, and you'll see all these different light patterns. We got Rembrandt, we got Rim, we got Loop, we got Butterfly Paramount. Is there anything that we're missing? Yeah, short and broad. So short light, what is short light? Anyone know? Short light is basically shooting from the shadow side of the face. So if I have a bride now, if instead of Butterfly, instead of Rembrandt, when I push her back here, if I have her come up to the window and kind of look out and shoot from this side of her face, the shadowed side of the face, that's the short side of the face, okay? Short, shadow. The broad side is basically if I had the light, if I were to come up here, have the light hit her here, and I was shooting from where Stephanie's at. This would be the broad side, the lit side of the face. Usually, for ladies, shooting from the short side of the face makes them look kind of more attractive, more thinner, kind of better defines their features and things like that. So I try when I can to shoot from that short side of the face. And then one other kind of light, guys, is side light. This is something that works really well with guys, works really well with seniors, works really well with like football photos when you're trying to like really define things. It does not work well with somebody who has bad skin complexion because it's going to show every little bad thing on their face. But side light is literally just straight from the side, but instead of right on my shoulder like we did with Rembrandt, it's literally almost like in front, okay? It's hitting right here. Side light's going to be lighting up one side of the face, dark on the other. But I love it for that dramatic look for groomsmen and stuff like that. It's awesome. What about cigar shots, guys? What kind of light would I use for cigar shots? Can you hold that in? Here's Keith. He's my stand, right? He's my softbox, umbrella, strobe. I really don't care what you use. There he is doing his thing. If I'm the groom, okay, Alicia, you're the photographer, right? All I'm going to do, I'm in Alicia's spot right there. I'm going to say, hey, groom, look at the light. Whew. He turns, he looks right at the light. I say, just smoke and look right at the light. He does his thing. Now with cigars, you really have to tell him to hold a lot of breath in. You have to like suck it all in and then blow it out. Don't inhale it. And in fact, do it a few short times real quick to get a little air, a little smoke in the air. So they and then they go, right? And then they blow it all out. And that's where you get those awesome lit with this light coming right here. Now what kind of light is this? Really, what kind of light is this? If the groom's looking right here at this light, what kind of light is this? And I'm shooting from over there.
Short lighting.
Kind of short lighting, but it's butterfly light. Because the light's up, it's coming down, it's going to create this little pattern right underneath the nose. But I'm shooting from over there, but it's really a butterfly light or a paramount light. I'm just shooting from the other side, you know, on this side. But what you're gonna get is that beautiful, like, faded look. The light just fades off their face. It looks absolutely gorgeous. So, does that make sense? Cool? All right. Like I said, we can practice this stuff outside, guys, when we're actually shooting at night. But I want you guys, actually we're gonna take 2 or 3 minutes. I want you to look through the magazine and I want you guys to find a pattern of light. In fact, you know what, maybe we should all look at the same magazine. Do we all have ceremony?
I think, no.
No, okay,
You
that's
don't
okay.
have- There's one I think everybody has.
That's okay, no, it doesn't matter. Go ahead and
Yeah,
find me either short light, broad light, butterfly light, paramount light, rim light.
I forgot, what's one with the nose shadow?
The nose shadow is loop light.
Oh, yeah, found that.
Okay. Find me one, and then I'm gonna hold it up, and you're gonna tell us what it is, and it's usually the fancy advertisements. I encourage you to look through magazines and look at those light patterns. And what happens is, you know how have you guys ever went to a car dealership and you look at a car and you're like, oh, this is a sweet car. It's a yellow Honda Civic. Nobody has a yellow Honda Civic. And then what happens when you drive home? You see like 5 yellow Honda Civics, right? That's exactly what happens with light patterns. Once you start seeing them and recognizing them, you're going to see them everywhere. I was the weird dude that when our baby was born and I'm sitting in the hospital and the hospital has the crazy lights overhead, I was literally holding our baby and I'm like moving him around. I'm like, oh, loop. Oh, there's butterfly. There's side light. Ooh, Rembrandt, right there. I'm not even kidding you. I actually did that. It wasn't at the hospital. It was actually in my office. I was rolling on the chair and I was literally doing this and I was using the light overhead and it was weird. And that was when I realized I'd taken it too far. But it's so fun. Once you start seeing those patterns, it's so fun because then you can start setting up shots. Now, guys, I am not the kind of person that when I'm shooting, I'm not going to be like going up to my clients and be like, oh, Megan. Okay, hold on, just move a little bit. Okay, right there. Okay, now chin down. Okay, hand over here. Okay, I don't move them that way. But I will get them in certain areas where we're creating those light patterns or those key shots like that one of that girl up against the window, those types of things. All right? Cool. Any questions about light patterns? Nothing? Okay.
What's your favorite?
What's that?
What's your favorite?
What's my favorite? I love the Rembrandt. It's just a real classic light. Sometimes we call it Renaissance.
I do what I want. I don't know if you know.
I'm kidding.
I played with
I'm giving you a hard time. He was from the Renaissance era, so.
Leonardo, painter,
Yeah,
light.
I'm totally kidding. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Christina says hi, the other Christina, she just texted.
Christina's on
Really
there.
power on.
So yeah, I like Rembrandt. It's my favorite. It's just really nice and soft. But if you're shooting kids and you need to get that nice, beautiful light, the safest is that butterfly, just kind of up above. Because then if they move around and shake their heads left and right, it's not going to make them dark on one side. So I would encourage you if you're shooting kids just to be safe about it.
How do kids move?
Up and down, left and right, crotch.
Crotch.
Okay. And then the other thing I just mentioned here is I said avoid muddled light on the face. It's probably one of the biggest things. That's the only time I'll ever tell somebody, oh, move back just an inch, move back just forward, just a tiny bit, is when I see that they're standing somewhere and they have like a ray of light just going right across their forehead a little bit. Or like their nose is just lit up a tiny bit. Guys, I am not going to spend 15 minutes in Photoshop trying to like put shaded skin on top of something. Instead, I'm going to spend 5 seconds and say, can you go back just an inch? Can you go back just an inch? I'm not going to go up and like adjust them just perfectly, but usually if I have clients, and it's funny, just an inch. Yeah. You guys can make fun of me all you want.
It works.
You can make
Shannon
fun
and
of
I
me
were
all
good
you
the
want.
dog.
No, I love it. You're laughing with me. But I have found that I do that. I do.
Yeah, you didn't heard
You're let me get through this, huh?
I started to say that.
I will do that.
Appropriate again.
Yeah. But that's the only kind of like small little fractional changes I'll make with people. I'll just have them go back just a tiny bit. I love putting people where there's like shaded areas and then there's like ray of light hitting it. I love putting them in there. Now guys, when I put people in really strong light, I don't have them look at me because I'm gonna get these crazy shadows. I have them usually connect hands down at the bottom and I say, look down at your hands. And so then they kind of connect hands, they're shoulder to shoulder, stomach to stomach, having their hands, and then they're kind of looking down like this. And then what do I get? I get this beautiful strong light, shaded area around them, and I don't have to worry about crazy shadows in their face, right? So I'm not shooting that. So again, don't be afraid of that. Awesome. Biggest other thing is I always tell clients, I explain to them that light for me is the key. That's my number one thing. My next thing is like composition, and then the background. I can always blow the background out. I can always make the background look blurry if I need to. So I'm always focused on light first, and then composing the shot, and then finally doing that background just what I want. So tell clients, you know, sometimes it's not about having that perfect beach shot behind them. Maybe it is about turning them. In fact, Shannon, this is a great example. You remember at Jen and Sean's wedding?
Talking about the first look?
No, oh no, that was, yeah. No, I'm talking on Jen and Sean's wedding, they had, right after the wedding, the family, we were gonna do family photos, and I said, guys, you know what? Family photos would kind of stink going that way. Can we just turn you guys this way? And I'll shoot kind of with this grassy hill and the house in the background. We're on the beach, right? You would think that that would be appropriate, but they're like, sure, you know, no big deal. I'm blowing out the background anyways, but I just wanted it where they have a dark light behind them. Why did I want a dark light or dark background behind them as opposed to the beach? Because the beach would have been what? Yeah, it would have been white. It would have been super white. So basically I put a dark background behind them, and then I was able to just kind of get, now not everyone, people are going to be, at least we just had this conversation, people are going to be like, well, I want the beach. I get that. But if you can get somebody to understand, like, hey, we're going to get beach shots, we're going to do some cool beach shots, but for these quick family group shots, let's just do it right here, got the grass, we're just going to pound it out. And as long as you show confidence, a lot of times people will just be like, yeah, whatever you think, you know? And they say it real high voice like that. So let's talk about shooting at noon, guys. Why does it suck to shoot at noon? Sun's right overhead, it's really bright, right? But what I found was that if I can get clients to do it at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, I'm totally happy to do it. Why? Because I want to go home for dinner. And I've missed a lot of dinners in my life. And I got a lot of kids, and I want to be there for them if I can. So what I found is that shooting at noon is really not as hard as we tend to make it out to be. Now, if you are shooting on the beach and you have absolutely no trees, no nothing, yes, it can be a little bit more difficult. I totally get that. But shooting down in downtown San Diego, you know, you look out here, you're going to see shade everywhere, right, if you want to use it. Also, here's the thing. A lot of times, I mean, look how beautiful that light is. I'm just kidding, guys. But this is right around at noon, right? And it's super ugly. But watch, all I did, because let me ask you this, guys. What is the one day, there's only one day of the year when the sun is actually directly overhead at noon. What day is it? June 21st, I think it was June 17th this year, right? Or is it always June 21st? Okay, I don't know why, I thought it was June 17th. But June 21st. Okay, what's that day called? Summer solstice, yeah. So basically on that day, and only that day at noon, is it directly overhead. Otherwise, we're in October, I guarantee at noon it's not directly overhead. And so it's always going to be somewhere at an angle. Just a little bit of an angle on the southern hemisphere, northern, whatever. It's going to be somewhere. So something like this where it's like, oh, that's really crappy light. If I just tell her, I say, hey, just come forward just a tiny bit, turn your shoulder, and all of a sudden we get this really pretty light with the rim hitting behind her. But see, sometimes as photographers, we get that really crappy light, and we're like, oh, I hate shooting at 1 o'clock. This sucks. And we don't just shift just a tiny bit. You know what I mean? And so please, that's the only reason I show this example is you can get gorgeous light even at 1 or 2. We just can't get frustrated with it and go, oh, this really sucks. Okay? Now, what's another way you could get this if you were shooting on the beach and you had absolutely no other choice? What's another way you can get nice? What's that? You can go off camera flash. Even easier way is when I was in Australia, we had assistant, so you'd have to have an assistant, but I held a diffusion panel. So your reflector, your 501 reflector, when you take off the silver and black edge and you pull that out and it's like a white diffusion panel, looks just like these curtains pretty much. If you just hold that up, you'd be surprised at how it just all of a sudden makes everything really soft and kind of shadowy and it's really pretty.
In relation to her, where do you hold it?
The diffusion panel, you just hold it up to where the sun, when it goes through it, it creates a shadow. Literally, it's just, you just create a shadow right on it.
Wherever it looks right.
Yeah. You know who's great to hold that? Mom. Yeah. Yep. So I'll show you guys another example of something like that here. Shoot right in this section right here on shooting off camera flash. Do you have a question? Okay. Cool. So that was my biggest thing. Now the other thing about shooting in with the sun is that's the best time to get those really gorgeous blue skies in the clouds. So when I'm starting sessions on engagement sessions, I love when that sun's kind of not super low on the horizon, but you know at maybe a 30, 40 degree angle where it's coming this way, and I can put the client right in the sun, so the sun's at my back. Again, this is not typical these days of shooting. This is back in the days of film. This is how we always shot, just because you can meter properly. But nowadays, we always put the client's back at the sun, and we tend to shoot into the sun, right? Kind of create that rim light. But if you do the opposite, if you put the sun at your back, have them stand in the sun where they're lit up, and you meter for them properly, then what are you going to get with the sky? Gorgeous blues and clouds and everything. So I would always try to include at least one of those shots in your wedding, photos, your engagement photos. Otherwise, they're going to be like, man, it was such a pretty day, but all your pictures are white sky. So, so keep that in mind. Cool? All right. Shooting off camera flash. And by the way, when we're out shooting, if any of you guys have any questions about that, again, if you're like, so what would you do in this situation? Please don't hesitate to ask. So how many of you guys are doing off camera flash right now? Shannon, Chris, it's Tracy, right? Tracy. Kind of a little bit? Yeah, you kind of did the one to like to raise it and you kind of put it back. Your husband a little bit?
Yeah.
Cool. Keith, Stephanie, awesome. Fran? Okay, cool. Guys, with off camera flash, your settings are going to change always, okay? But I did give you just kind of a template. I would say this is like where I start typically, and then from there I'm gonna kind of tweak things a little bit. Now I'm going to show you how I tweak things, and then I'm also going to show you some examples of where I use off camera flash and how I use it. But typically when the sun is setting, I'm going to go ahead and sit down. Is that okay? When the sun is setting, the first thing you want to do is I will have the couple just hold still for a second. And I always say, hey guys, I'm going to grab my light real quick. Sounds weird, but for whatever reason, that's just my habit of saying it. If I say, hold on just a sec, I'm going to grab my light. I take my camera, I point it up at the sky, so I'm not even looking at them. I just point it at the sky. And I do that because I want them to relax for a second. If I'm pointing at them, trying to grab my settings, and I keep looking down at my camera and trying to make my settings just right, it almost makes them feel like, oh, maybe we're doing something wrong or what's going on here. So I just say, hold on just a second, guys. I look at the sky. I shoot, basically take, where your camera meters 0. I then push it, on the Canon to the left, Nikon would be to the right, but I underexpose it by a stop or 2 stops. So now I'm at -1 or -2.
On the flash?
In the actual just camera, no flash.
Oh.
So I haven't even fired a flash yet. All I'm doing is I'm underexposing the sky. Does that make sense? So that sun is setting, and to get those colors, because if I expose the sky properly, if I meter it and I'm at 0, what does the sky look? Hazy, gray. You don't see all those colors. Have you guys ever shot a photo where the sky doesn't even look that amazing at sunset, but you underexpose it by a stop or 2, and you show the couple, you're like, look, this is what we're going to get. And they're like, whoa, that looks even better in your camera than it does in real life. It's kind of fun. It's actually fun to do, and you show it to them that way. So you say, look, this is the sky we're going to get. So you've underexposed the sky. Now, your shutter speed, why do I have it at 1/200th of a second?
So you're shooting on 200?
Because actually another reason, because I can't go past that. When I'm shooting with a flash, I have to make sure I stay at 1/200th, unless I do high-speed sync, which, again, I'm happy to show you guys. We can go outside, we can do that as well. But our flashes, they basically restrict us. They say, hey, after 1/200th of a second, you're going too fast. And what I mean by that is the shutter, this is how a shutter works. It opens up, it goes whoop, and then as this opened up, then the tail end starts to close with it, and they both move, and then this ends, and then that closes. So it's kind of like, right? So if you're at 1/200th of a second, or excuse me, if you're faster than 1/200th of a second, then what happens is it opens up, goes, the flash fires, and then this shuts at the very end, and what does it do along the bottom of your photo? Causes a black bar. In fact, our speed light on our camera doesn't even allow us to do it. It won't even allow us to take our shutter beyond 1/200th of a second because it already knows it's going to cause a black bar. But if you're ever shooting with alien bees or other kind of flashes, and you see a black bar along the bottom, then you know that you're firing too fast. So I start at 1/200th of a second because I want to bring that ambient light down, the sunset down. And then also, here I have my ISO, I bring it down nice and low. My aperture, I bring it up just a little bit. I'm at 5.6 here. Now, why am I not shooting at 2.8? What do you guys think? I mean, I could start at 2.8. And I guess it's kind of a trick question. There's not really a reason I'm not shooting at 2.8. It's just that for me, when I'm shooting a flash, it's not so much about the bokeh. If I'm shooting a sunset, it's not so much about the bokeh of the sunset. In fact, in certain terms, I kind of want to see, what's going on behind them. So now, instead of looking for that bokeh, I'm just making sure that they're perfectly in focus. The other reason I like 5.6 is because if that flash is firing and the power is just a little bit low and they're still just a tiny bit dark, I can take my aperture from 5.6 and go to 3.5 or even 2.8. And basically, by changing your aperture, you're controlling flash power. Okay. So those of you who have ever had an issue with flash, have you guys ever shot a photo and they look like angels? They're all ethereal and stuff. Not urethra. They're all ethereal. Have you guys ever seen that? And you're like, oh crap, and you're like trying to change the power on your flash real quick. Really, all you gotta do is just take your aperture and go from like, let's say you shot it, you're at 3.5, go to like f8, and they'll be like perfect. You didn't change any flash power, all you did is change your aperture. So keep that in mind as well. Again, these things are so much easier to practice when we're outside, so we'll do that, okay guys? What else? Oh, and then the other thing I just mentioned here is don't forget to shoot silhouettes, which is so important. A lot of times we get so caught up in getting that perfect shot, and we forget like the awesome silhouette shot that our clients love. So I usually tell my second shooter when I'm doing my lights, I'll be setting things up, and I'll say, hey, as I'm grabbing this, you grab silhouettes. Silhouette. How do you shoot a silhouette? Underexposed for the sky. Yeah, underexposed for the sky. So the exact same thing that I said in the beginning, where you underexpose 1 or 2 stops, then just don't fire a flash. It's that easy. So in fact, you could even tell your second shooter, hey, here's my settings. You know, shoot that. So there you go. Now after dark, once it's gone dark, the meter I say is going to be strongly underexposed. You're going to be blinking. You know, and when you look in your camera, it's going to be like -2, -2, -2. It's going to be really dark. Don't worry about that. This is where Keith, we mentioned the shutter speed. This is where I will slow it down. This is where I get my shutter speed down to like 1/30th, 1/20th, 1/15th of a second. Now when I do that, why is it okay? Why can I shoot at that lowest speed?
Your flash is going to freeze.
The flash is going to freeze,
Whenever
right?
it hits.
So you guys all know that. So basically, in other words, I'm just using that to open up a little bit more light. I'm trying to turn that dark pitch black sky into like maybe a royal blue color. And basically that flash is going to freeze them and I don't have to worry about that slow shutter speed anymore. So I'm always shooting that slow shutter speed, my aperture up a little bit. My ISO now is going to be boosted. And my flash power, I have it at 1/32. That's usually where I start. Now, why wouldn't I use ETTL? Again, it's a personal preference. Does anyone choose manual power over ETTL here? Yeah? Why? Why do you guys do that? Control? Okay.
I don't want it to decide for me.
Yeah. So what is ETTL? Okay, drawn it through the lens. What does that mean though? What is it doing? When we put our flash on ETTL, what is it actually doing? Okay. It's firing off 2 flashes. We don't see it. It goes so fast we don't actually even see it. But it's firing off 2 flashes. The first one goes out, it hits the couple, it bounces back to your lens. The camera says, oh, this is what you did. This is how much power I need to send back. And then it fires a second flash, and that's what so it's literally like trying through the lens is because the light's coming through the lens, it sees it, and then it fires a second flash with whatever power it thinks. Now the tricky part is that if you have, let's say you're shooting in a church, and that flash is bouncing off a shiny wood background, right, at the church, well guess what? It's going to bounce back really shiny, and then it's going to fire like a little bit of flash on the couple, because it's going to be like, oh, you don't need that flash, it's really powerful, right? Or then you might change your angle a little bit and suddenly you don't have that shiny wood, and now all of a sudden it's firing too much flash. You know, it's changing constantly. Basically ETTL or TTL is auto for your flash. Okay? It's not bad. There's times where I'm at a reception and I will turn it to ETTL because I'm kind of being lazy and I fire and it looks good and I'm like, sweet, I'm done. But 2 things happen. 1, you're going to get inconsistent results, and 2, you're going to go through batteries like crazy. Why? Because usually it's firing a little bit more flash than you need, and 2, because it's firing 2 flashes every time. So again, it might be one of those things that you're like, oh, I've never seen 2 flashes. You won't see it. In fact, you know when you fire ETTL, that's a lot of times it causes people, if they blink a lot, if you have a blinker, never use ETTL, because then what happens is that first flash comes, it causes them to blink, and the second one catches their blink. Whereas if you use manual flash power, it's 1 flash, boom, and you hit them, and you usually can get them without the blink. So, okay, so yeah, that's that. So when I'm shooting receptions, for example, well, I guess we're gonna get into it here down below, but let me just talk about it right now. When I'm shooting receptions, I am always shooting at 1/30th of a second or 1/60th of a second, always. Now the reason I do that is because I want to capture that ambient light. Now in order to be able to shoot at that, I need to make sure that I am actually underexposing my shot before the flash. So in other words, guys, when I set my shutter first, so I'll put it at like 1/30th of a second, And then I'll make my ISO and my aperture so that I usually put my aperture, like I said, about 5.6 or 8. Remember what I told you guys when I do dances and stuff? Now I'm not talking about like the first dance, but I'm talking about like the party dancing, like them having fun. So let's just use this setting for a minute. Let's say I put it at 1/30th of a second, and then I put it at f8, okay? And at that point, let's say my meter is like super underexposed. Like I shoot it and it's just completely dark. I don't even see, maybe the room has some pretty uplights and purple lights and things like that, and I don't even see any of that. What do I need to do then? I need to push my ISO. Maybe I'm at 100, right? And I need to push it up to, let's say, 1600. But basically what I do is I use my ISO to control how that ambient room is going to look. So I can shoot it, and I want the people to be dark, but I want to be able to see the uplights in the room. I want to be able to see the DJ's lights that are bouncing off the ceiling. Okay? Once I got that, that's where I'll turn my flashes on. And I usually can get away with shooting at a reception at like 1/32nd power and just putting my flashes somewhere close to the dance floor. If it's like in the way, like if I feel like it's going to be in the way or people are going to trip on it, then I might move it on the other side of the room and fire it at 1/16th power or maybe 1/8th power. But guys, I have never had to replace batteries during a reception. Never. I've never got to a point where I've ran out. Just because it's literally one set of 4 AA batteries gets me through the whole reception at shooting at a manual 1/32nd or 1/16th power. Whereas if you're shooting ETTL, I guarantee in about an hour and a half you're probably gonna have to replace your batteries. So now that being said, it doesn't mean I don't have extra batteries. I carry them with me, but you'd be surprised at how much it actually saves. So, but that's the biggest thing. I don't know, for those of you who are in the Show It Tears group, what's her name? Elizabeth Ann King. About 2 weeks ago, she's like, "Oh my goodness, Trevor saved my life. He helped me with my reception light, and I got this beautiful photo."
Yeah.
It was the funniest thing. Elizabeth texted me and said, "I'm freaking out, Trevor. I got to shoot this in the tent. What do I do?" And I texted her back. I said, "Well, let's chat on the phone," because I was driving at the time. I said, "Let's chat." And she goes, "I'm in a class. I can't." She was like in school at the time. She's like 17 or something. And I said, "Well, give me your phone number and I'll leave a message," because I couldn't tell her exactly. And I left a message. I said, "Elizabeth, this is all I want you to do. I want you to take your shutter speed. I want you to go down to 1/30th of a second. Then I want you to make sure you're underexposed by a stop or two. And then I want you to use your flash to just freeze the motion." And that's all she did. And what was the difference? The difference was that she was able to bring in all the ambient light in the tent, still freeze the couple, make them look pretty, and then also using her white balance at about 6,000, she was able to get that nice warm tone. And that's all it was. But the difference was before, she was shooting at like 1/200th of a second. And when you're shooting at 1/200th of a second, okay, 1/200, in a reception, what light are you actually capturing?
Only the flash.
Only the flash. You just killed all the ambient light of that whole room. So you're only capturing the flash. So now your photos look like every other person's snapshot photo with that flash. You don't capture that ambient, okay?